issue because it's not a feminism
but
issue.
It is,
when you're going out and attacking women, you're not. I'm not done. Okay, when you're going out and attacking women, you are not a feminist. This is not defensible whatsoever. And you sit here and you say that it's because you care about mothers. The basis of this is that people are upset that illegal immigrants are being separated from their mothers. Why don't you refocus some of that energy to the black community? They've been having their families separated. In fact, it's subsidized in the black community. You appreciate single motherhood. You are giving more money to families for fatherless absence. So all of this selective fake outrage when you guys do not have the same defenses for the black community is really lost on me, and it's time's up on this altogether. I think the black community has had enough of you guys being selectively outraged for parents of illegal immigrants, but not for the parents of the black community who have been separated from their family for about 6 decades.
All right, and ladies, I just want to point out, ladies,
there are debates where talking points just bounce around the room. And then there are debates where one side shows up armed with facts, confidence, and clarity ready to dominate. That's exactly what went down when Candace Owens went head-to-head with a leftist feminist guest on feminism, family, immigration, and economics. What followed wasn't some polite exchange. It was a takedown. Owens sliced through the buzzwords and tired talking points like a hot knife, leaving her opponents scrambling and viewers with no doubt about who owned that stage.
It has become so hateful. It's become so divisive. Candace, is there a double standard with women on the right, you think?
Of course there's a double standard. I mean, it's incomprehensible and indefensible, and anybody with a modicum of decency will admit that what's going on here is wrong. I can't even fathom a world where Obama's daughters are threatened with pedophilia by somebody in Hollywood in the same week that someone in his administration is kicked out of a restaurant with 7 members of their family just for wanting to eat. We would never hear the end of the claims of racism. This would not be allowed whatsoever, and it should not be allowed just because this is Donald Trump's administration.
Jessica, your response?
My response is that there are 2 issues at play here. There's the civility issue, which is what happened here with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and I personally don't think that she should have been thrown out of the restaurant. I think you can have a conversation with someone about the beliefs and what this administration is doing without denying them service. We don't deny service to people for immutable characteristics. We can legally on the basis of political affiliation, but I don't think it was constructive and it hurts the debate. The other side to the issue is the fact that Republican women want to be deemed feminists, and they want to have the same kind of clout as women on the left who are actually advocating for policies that help women, whereas the policies out of this administration actually hurt them, like refusing to raise.
But women that work for the president, they wouldn't say that. They would say actually the opposite. They would say that we believe in these issues and we feel like they help women.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want, but the statistics don't lie. We know that if you raise the minimum wage, 2/3 of people in this country on the minimum wage are women. They need that help. We know that there is assault on women's health care rights from this administration, things like that.
Jess, please, I hate this selective feminism that we hear on the left all the time, okay? Well, don't make this a feminism issue because it's not a feminism issue.
But it is,
when you're going out and attacking women, you're not. I'm not done, okay? When you're going out and attacking women, you are not a feminist. This is not defensible whatsoever. And you sit here and you say that it's because you care about mothers. The basis of this is that people are upset that illegal immigrants are being separated from their mothers. Why don't you refocus some of that energy to the black community? They've been having their families separated. In fact, it's subsidized in the black community. You appreciate single motherhood. You are giving more money to families for fatherless absence. So all of this selective fake outrage when you guys do not have the same defenses for the black community is really lost on me, and it's time's up on this altogether. I think the black community has had enough of you guys being selectively outraged for parents of illegal immigrants, but not for the parents of the black community who have been separated from their family for about 6 decades.
All right, and ladies, I just want to point out, let's keep this civil. As I opened up this segment, there is already so much hate, indecency in this country, so let's just keep this debate a debate and keep it civil. Jessica, your response.
Guests started by claiming that Republican women are desperate to be seen as feminists and want the same influence that women on the left have. She argued that the Trump administration was actively hurting women, citing opposition to raising the minimum wage and limits on abortion and healthcare access. But here's the twist. Her point was less about facts and more about identity. The message was clear. If you don't support left-wing feminist policies, then you're not a real feminist. That set the stage perfectly for Owens' response. Because Candace built her brand on rejecting that very type of ideological gatekeep, Owens didn't waste a second calling out what she labeled selective feminism. She said leftist feminists claim to represent all women, but only if those women follow their political script. Female Trump supporters, like Kellyanne Conway or Sarah Huckabee Sanders, are written off as gender traitors simply because they back policies progressives dislike. Then came Owens' sharp pivot. She accused the left of being selectively outraged about family separation at the border while ignoring the decades-long family collapse in Black America. Why not redirect some of that outrage toward the Black community? Their families have been broken apart for decades, and it's been subsidized. This wasn't just talk. Owens highlighted an uncomfortable reality. Government incentives for single motherhood, mixed with cultural shifts, have left the Black community battling fatherlessness and its damaging ripple effects.
I believe I was keeping it civil, and then Candace told me that I wasn't a feminist. I also believe that Candace doesn't speak for the entire.
You weren't. I said the left. I said the left. I didn't say you, Jessica. So don't make it personal. I said the left. It's selective feminism on the left that we're seeing.
I disagree with you, and I'm going to do that politely. I'm going to return to my original argument, which is that we have heard this for years, that Kellyanne Conway, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and all the women who work for this president and support his agenda aren't getting their due. They're not getting their due from the feminist community because they're advocating for policies that hurt women, that keep them in a bad economic position, that don't allow them to live equally in this society.
Can I ask you this, Jessica?
Yes.
Same for the Black women.
Same for Black women in this society. Do you think that Kirstjen Nielsen should be harassed because of her position and because what is going on with immigration? Do you think because of that she deserves to be treated the way that she does? She was essentially forced out of a Mexican restaurant, protesters in there. You may disagree with her, but do you think the way she's been treated is fair?
I think that what Kirstjen Nielsen did in initially coming out and lying about what this president's policy did, then having to backtrack on it, puts her in a very tenuous position.
That wasn't my question, though.
I think that people should have civil conversations about it and certainly have every right as a public official to come up to her table and to call her out on her lies and this administration's lies. If she wants to leave because of it, that's on her.
All right.
But she should be open to that dialogue with the American public who is dissatisfied.
Candace, very quickly,
this is a very slippery slope. The left should stop this, because then you're basically saying that in the future this is going to be allowed in administrations that you do support. And as I said, the selective outrage for illegal families, when this has been going on in the Black community, no one talks about the fathers that are separated, the fathers that are behind bars, the fathers that are buried on the south side of Chicago and in Baltimore. So again, this is completely, to me, seems like fake outrage, and I don't support it whatsoever.
Candace, that's why President Obama
we're going to have to leave
had his father's program.
Yes, it was Obama's administration that sanctioned those programs.
Candace's argument wasn't based on emotions, it was backed by solid evidence. Decades of studies show that children raised without fathers are more likely to drop out of school, end up in prison, or face teenage pregnancy. Government welfare systems often unintentionally reward father absence, keeping families trapped in cycles of dependency. Communities struggling with absent fathers are statistically more likely to face poverty and crime. In short, Owens wasn't ignoring the pain of family separation at the border. She was saying, if that outrage is real, why isn't there the same outrage over the systematic destruction of families happening right here? That sharp comparison left her opponent stumbling, as it shifted the conversation from abstract, feminist ideas to the everyday realities families face across America. The feminist guest tried to circle back to economics, arguing that raising the minimum wage would help women, since 2/3 of minimum wage workers are female. But Owens and her supporters turned that argument upside down. Raising the minimum wage doesn't magically create wealth. It speeds up automation and reduces job opportunities. Anyone who's been to McDonald's lately can see it. Touchscreens are replacing cashiers, and kiosks are cutting the need for staff. The reality is clear. When wages are forced higher, businesses cut costs in other ways, often by reducing workers. That doesn't empower women. It leaves them without jobs. Owens' message landed hard. Policies that sound good in speeches often create real damage in practice.
What do you think of Cynthia Nixon, who's running for governor, saying that we have strayed so far from what the American people want? What do you think of that?
Look, I think, quite frankly, Cynthia Nixon needs to consider running for governor in Mexico. I genuinely no longer understand if the Democrats are aware that they are seeking to serve the American people. It's like they have no idea that the constituents are American. They are outwardly just opposed to everything that is Americanism at this point. I don't get it whatsoever. It's embarrassing that she would insult the border agents. They have one of the toughest jobs in this country. It's a dangerous job. And by the way, a lot of them are Mexican.
Yeah, that's true. But what about, I mean, the whole concept of a law enforcement organization, federal, being a terrorist organization? You know, I didn't hear these people yelling and screaming when the ISIS was out there. I mean, it was like, oh no, we've got to go against law and order. There's this whole new concept that anything having to do with the laws is a problem.
That's exactly right. They're against law enforcement altogether. They've been against police officers on their platform. They've been against our veterans and our troops. Anything that serves the American people and protects us, the Democrats are adamantly opposed to. And quite frankly, these ideas are dangerous. I can't believe that she had the gall to say this whatsoever.
All right, let me ask you this. Peter Fonda this week tweeted, "We should rip Barron Trump from his mother's arms and put him in a cage with pedophiles and see if mother will stand up against the giant a-hole she's married to." Since when have we been able to refer to the president as that and put a child in a cage with a pedophile?
This is absolutely disgusting. There are really no other words for this, but absolutely sickening what he tweeted here. And more sickening is the fact that there was absolutely no consequence for what he tweeted. His movie is being released this weekend, I believe. They have no consequence whatsoever, and there's a double standard here. Why was Roseanne Barr immediately canceled, but he still gets to have his movie put out? It's a major problem. There was more outrage over Melania Trump's jacket than there was over Barron Trump being threatened with pedophiles.
Tense moment came when Owens pressed her opponent on whether public officials, like Kirstjen Nielsen, deserved to be harassed in restaurants because of their political positions. The feminist guest argued that citizens have every right to confront officials in public over policies they dislike. And if Nielsen chose to leave, that was her problem. Owens' reply was sharp. "This is a dangerous path. If you excuse it against Republicans today, don't act shocked when the same thing happens to Democrats tomorrow." Once again, Owens shifted the focus. This wasn't just about Nielsen, it was about protecting the core of civil life. Normalize mob harassment, and you erode the foundation of healthy discourse. What made this exchange so revealing was how familiar the feminist guests' arguments sounded. They echoed the same talking points repeated across progressive platforms: the gender pay gap, minimum wage hikes, attacks on women's health care, and abortion framed as empowerment. But Owens broke down each claim. On the gender pay gap, studies consistently show that much of it comes from career choices, not systemic discrimination. Men are overrepresented in STEM, hard labor, and high-risk jobs, while women often work in lower-paying but socially valuable fields like nursing and early education. Opportunity is available. Perfect equality in outcomes is neither possible nor realistic. On abortion as empowerment, Owens flipped the script, stressing the importance of family and warning about policies that encourage broken homes. True feminism, she argued, should not be about tearing down motherhood or vilifying men, but about building stronger families, better opportunities, and real healthcare and rights. She highlighted the irony. Progressives demand unlimited rights for abortion while ignoring basic rights for the unborn and overlooking deeper crises: crime, education, family breakdown destroying communities. What made Owens' performance so compelling was her ability to take every feminist talking point and expose its selective outrage, hypocrisy, or lack of practicality. She didn't just argue policy, she reframed the debate around truths that left avoids. Feminism, she said, isn't about empty slogans. It's about real advocacy for all women, including conservative women. Family collapse has hurt Black America more than white supremacy ever could. Minimum wage hikes don't help women, they hurt them. Harassing public officials isn't activism, it's mob behavior. By the end, her opponent looked defensive, falling back on the same empty lines. Owens, meanwhile, looked steady, confident, and grounded in data. Now, it's your turn. Do you agree with Candace Owens that woke feminism thrives on selective outrage and failed ideas? Or do you think her take on issues like the pay gap goes too far? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you think Owens won this debate, hit that like button. For more fiery breakdowns of these viral clashes, subscribe and ring the bell. Candace Owens didn't just debate a feminist guest, she exposed the empty shell of woke feminism.